Hi friends, a very good evening and welcome back. So in today's class, we will focus on one of the problematic situation which we face in Excel at times, which is called circular referencing. And once done, we will then continue the class on conditional formatting, which is one of the very useful tool to represent your data to the outside world or to the to the third person. So let's start with the circular reference. Um, so when we say circular reference, this is we know that in Excel when we talk about reference, we are talking about basically the cell referencing, right? So whenever we refer by using a formula or in other way, when we are referring to a cell, we are talking about the reference. So as the name states, a circular referencing is a situation when the cells to which we are referring, okay, has a circular reference. Okay, so it moves in loop, and you know that a circle never has an end, right? So this is what happens in circular reference, that the linkage or the reference which we give to a formula, okay, runs in a circular loop and it never has an end. So in that case, Excel throws up an error. So we will see that what are the different situations when we face circular referencing and how to deal with the circular referencing in Excel. Okay, so let me take a basic example. uh, okay, so I have three value A, B and C. Okay, so C is nothing but the sum of A and B. So if I write a formula equal to sum, I open the bracket. Okay, to select the above two cell, I press shift and the up arrow key. Okay, so I have selected cell A, B1 and B2. Okay, but you see that by mistake, while I was trying to select cell B1 and B2, I have also selected cell B3. Okay, so what is our formula now? Sum cell B1 to B3. Okay, and in which cell we are writing this formula? B3 itself, right? So what will be the value of C? Let's see. Okay, so the value of C becomes A plus B plus C. Okay, I'm so sorry. Let me not write it as a formula but a statement. So it's A plus B plus C. Okay. So every time, okay, the what will be the value of C? It will be, since we the formula is B1 to B3. So what will be the value of C? 10 plus 20. That is the value of C, and then plus B3 itself. So again it will add 30, and this will keep happening till eternity, right? Till it will form a circular loop now, right? So in this case, we saw that I wrote this formula B1 to B3 by mistake. Okay, so the circular referencing was not my intention. Okay, I just need to, just give me a second. Actually, it will be clear if I switch off this function. So let me delete this, okay, and rewrite the formula. So I say sum, I use shift and the upward arrow key, and you say error. Okay, so now you see that rather than giving me an answer, Excel throws me an error because this cell has a circular referencing, and we now understand why the circular referencing is there, because the formula for C stands A plus B plus C. Okay, so C is always equal to C, right? So it is ultimately forming a circular loop, and hence Excel will fail to give us an answer. Now let's see how to solve that. Of course, if the error is intentional, what I would do is I would remove my error from the formula. Okay, and I now get the right answer. So now my C is equal to A plus B rather than A plus B plus C itself. Okay, but that is in the case when the circular referencing is unintentional, it's by mistake. But at times, as we will see in some minutes from now, the circular referencing is actually not an unintentional error, but it's an intentional thing. We want the circular referencing to be there. So in that case, let's see how do we deal with the circular referencing. Okay, so what we need to do is we go to the file menu. Okay, we go to the options. Okay, basically we are talking about Excel options. So if we are in 2007, the moment you click on the menu button, you will see on your right hand bottom there is something called options, Excel options. So just click on that. In 2010, we directly have the button here called option. I click on that. Once you are in the Excel options window, click on formulas. Okay, and you see this command here called enable iterative calculation. Okay, so now let's understand what does this mean and how it will help us in dealing with the circular referencing problem. So enable iterative calculation, as the name suggests, means that we ask Excel to enable the iterative or the repetitive calculation. The word iterative here stands for repetitive. So as we saw in this case, when the circular loop is there, so a plus b plus c is equal to a plus b plus c. So every time the value of c will change, and hence the value of it will form a circular loop. So rather than asking Excel to give us an error, we ask it to enable the iterative calculation. Okay, and in your Excel file you will see that this value is 100. Okay, so what does this mean is the maximum iteration. So maximum iteration means that the 100 is a default value. So it says that how many times on a maximum possible way you want me to iterate the calculation or repeat the calculation. So if I leave it 100 by default, you see that Excel will run this calculation 100 times. So 10 plus 20, 30, and this 30 has been repeated 100 times, and hence we are getting an answer of 3000, right? But I can change this number of options. Okay, so again, if I go to enable iterative calculation, and let's say if I change it to 1. Okay, first let me delete this value. Okay, let's continue. Sorry, no issues. So I go to again formula, and I say I want the iterative calculation to be only 1. So I want it to repeat the calculation only once. Okay, so in that case we see that, okay, you see currently right now you see that the answer is 3030. That is because 3000 was already there, and since we make it one more, so it iterated the calculation once more. So if you want the original answer, just press F2 on your keyboard and press enter. So you now see the answer is 30, because now the Excel is iterating the calculation only once. Okay, so let's see if it's 2, what will be the answer if the iterative calculation is changed to 2. Okay, so let me again refresh this cell. So you see now it's 60. So it's repeating the calculation twice. 30 plus 30 is equal to 60, and so on and so forth. And we saw that once we change it to 100, it gives you 3000. Clear? So that's what the maximum iteration means. Okay, and of course 100 is not the upper limitation. You can keep it 1000 also. Okay, and in that case you see the answer has been changed to 3060. Clear? So this is how a circular referencing error is dealt with, that rather than giving you an error, you allow Excel to enable the iterative calculation, or you also specify the maximum iteration which can be there. Now you see a second options here which says maximum change. Okay, so maximum change stands again by default value will be 0.001. So maximum change stands for, it says that you should stop the iterative calculation when the change between the first calculation, the first iteration, and the next one is not more than 0.001. Right? So maximum change, you stop your iterative calculation when the maximum change between nth iteration and n plus 1 iteration is 0.001. So it will stop the iterating the calculation there. So let's say, you know, if I increase this one to 1000, okay, so 1000 will be a huge number. But I say that in case, you know, when we are using it for percentage and such other calculations, so I say that stop the iteration when the maximum change reaches 0.001. There is no point iterating beyond that. Again, you can change this value to any value you want. So you can change it to 30 or anything you want. Clear? Right? So this is how an Excel iterative calculation will be working. Clear? So once again, what we are doing is we are trying to understand the circular referencing problem in Excel. What is a circular referencing? A circular referencing is an error, or either unintentional or intentional, when the cells which we are referring for our formula has formed a circular loop. That is, it is never ending loop. Okay. So if it's an unintentional error, definitely I will go and correct my formula. But if the error is intentional, or you know, if required, so what I will do is I'll go to the file menu, click on options, go to formulas, and I will enable this option called enable iterative calculation. I'll specify the maximum number of iterations which I want, and I can also specify the maximum change which I want in n plus 1 number of operations. Clear, guys? Okay, now whenever you are working on an Excel file, ideally you should always keep it disabled. Okay, the reason for that is because if it's enabled, and if by mistake you have given unintentionally you have given a circular referencing in your formula, you will never come to realize it. But if it's not enabled and if you try to put in a circular referencing formula, Excel will throw an error. It will throw a pop-up warning saying that it will give you a circular referencing warning asking you to check your formula if required. Clear, guys? Okay, so let's look at one of the example where you will feel, or the circular referencing becomes essential. So many of you might have come across this situation wherein okay, let me share explain this example. So let's say the revenue of a turnover of the company is $1,000. Okay, my expense is $500. Okay, my profit will be net sales minus expense minus commission. Okay, so let me write the formula for profit. So it's revenue minus expenses minus the commission which we give to the management. Okay, and as you can see here that the formula for calculating your commission is nothing but 5% of profit after commission, right? So my commission is equal to, okay, let me first disable so that we will be able to appreciate the iterative calculation. Yeah, it's already disabled. Okay, so equal to 5% of my profit, right? So in this case, you see that I know the circular referencing has been created, but I want circular referencing to be there. Okay, and you see that Excel doesn't give me an answer because right now my enable iterative calculation has been disabled. So what I do is I go to options, I click on formulas, and now as we are aware, I enable the iterative calculation. And of course, I change the maximum iteration to whatever amount I want, or I can leave it by default, that is 100 times. Okay, and I say okay, right? So what it does is it calculates the 5% of profit, which we remember was 500. So 500 into 5%, 25, and it just did the calculation once, right? So this is how an iterative calculation or circular referencing works in an Excel. And if the error or the circular referencing is intentional, we can enable the iterative calculation option and get our answer in the Excel. Okay, let's look at the last part. I mean the one more examples in circular referencing wherein my circular referencing is formula linked. Okay, let me explain what I'm talking about. So let's say I'm working on a file and I use that file very often. Okay, but I want to check whenever I open the file, the first thing which I want to check is that when was the last time I opened or worked on this file. Okay, or pardon me, or let's say I have used I have a lot of date function in my Excel sheet. Okay, so which is linked to today's date. So what you remember now or now that if I want the date of today, there is a simple function in Excel called today, and I open and close the bracket which will give me the date as on today, right? But I don't want that every time I open this Excel sheet, okay, Excel should change the date to today. Okay, I want it maybe maybe let's say if I have worked on this sheet 10 days before. Okay, and since there is no update for which I want the date to be changed, I want the date to remain as 10 days before. So that is not possible with this formula, because if you have given the date as today and every time you open your Excel file, Excel will throw the date as on today. So in that case, I can create a circular referencing which will be formula based. Let's see what I'm talking about. So what I will do is okay, so what I will do is I will write a formula here equal to if, okay, what is my logical test? My logical test I am giving is if this cell, okay, is equal to blank, okay, then you update the date, that is give me date as on today, okay, else leave the date which was there in this cell already. Okay, so you see that now I have created a circular referencing. Why I am calling it a circular reference? Because I am writing this formula in C14 and I am referring it to C14 itself, right? So this is a circular referencing for me. So what I am doing in this formula, guys, is I am asking Excel to check for this cell. If this cell, only if this cell is empty, update the date, else leave the date as existing. Okay, so right now it will give you the date as on today. Okay, even if I give it 1, it will be same. So if today when I work on this file and I close this file, I will put any data here and close the file. So next time, okay, until and unless when I open the file, okay, since this is not a blank cell, cell B14 is not a blank cell, Excel will not update this date till the time I go and delete this cell and make it blank, right? So this is how we create a formula based circular referencing in Excel. Clear? Once again, what I am doing is I am creating a formula based circular referencing. So I am giving you an example wherein I want Excel to update the date as on today only when I ask it to do, right? So in that case, what I do is I write a formula wherein I say that if the cell B14 is equal to blank, update the date as on today, else leave the last updated date, right? So next time when I open the file, if I want to update the date, I will delete it and make it a blank cell. So once it's a blank cell, the formula will be true and it will update the date as on today, else it will leave the last updated date which is the same as cell C14. Clear, guys? So to give an example, let's say I worked on this file last on 9th January 2015. Okay, so since this cell is right now not blank, Excel has not updated this formula. So you can see that the formula is same as on today, right? So it is still keeping the date as on 9 January 2014. But the moment I delete this cell and make it blank, Excel will update the date as on today. Let me show you, and here you go. Right? Once done, now you can't undo it. So even if you undo it, the Excel will still keep the date as on today. Clear? So before we this is what we have more or less in circular referencing. But before I close this chapter, just let me warn you on one thing with respect to circular referencing is that. So now if you have the circular referencing, why is it giving you 30 is because you have enabled the iterative calculation giving maximum iteration as 1. Okay, but every time you save this file, okay, Excel will keep iterating the formula for you. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing Ctrl S, that is the save option. So you see that every time I save this file, Excel will keep repeating the iteration for me. So you have to be very careful when you are working on the cell referencing part. Clear, guys? Okay. Okay, fine. So let us continue the class with conditional formatting now. Okay, so what is conditional formatting? As the name suggests, okay, first of all, we know that in Excel we have a lot of formatting options, which we saw in one of the classes, which we saw in one of the basic formatting classes. So if you are not aware, just go and follow the class on basic formatting and you will understand that what are the different kinds of options for formatting available to us in this font cluster, alignment cluster, number cluster, etc. Right? Similarly, we have something called conditional formatting. And as the name suggests, a conditional formatting will format a cell only based on certain condition given to the Excel. Okay, say for example, now if you remember this data, okay, we have used this data for one of the data function, I guess. Okay, so I have the similar set of data wherein I want Excel to highlight, okay, any score which is less than 40, because if it's less than 40, it's a fail. Okay, so I want Excel to highlight those cells in red. Okay, so if I want to do it manually, and let's say if this data is not, you know, arranged or organized in this ascending order, let me change the order so that you know, we appreciate what we are doing here. So let me go and sort the data from based on name A to Z. Okay. Yeah, so now you see that these scores are not in ascending order. So let's say I want to highlight all the scores which are below 40. 40 is the pass mark for this student. So if I go and manually search for it and, you know, try and do it, there might be an error. Okay, so I might skip certain number, okay, which should be in red or which should be highlighted red. Okay, but I might skip those number if I go and look it manually. Besides, you know, if the data set is too huge, it's not possible to do it manually, right? So in that case, I can use a conditional formatting command. Now let's see what is the conditional formatting in Excel does for us. I go to the home tab. Okay, once I am in home tab, you see this option or button called conditional formatting. So I click on this drop down button or the arrow on the conditional formatting, and you see this many options are there for conditional formatting. We will understand each of them, but let's focus on how does this conditional formatting work. Okay, so if you notice that the first option is highlight cell rules. Okay, the moment you place your cursor on highlight cells rule, you see this various sub options. Okay, so in this case, since I am playing with data, okay, so what I say is let's say and my what is my condition, I want to highlight all the cells which are less than 40, less than or equal to 40, right? So I click on this less than button, okay, and you see this window bar opening. So it says that format cells that are less than, and I say 41, okay. So I want Excel to format all the cells which are less than 41 with, you choose your option, okay, either you choose one of this default formatting or you go to custom format, okay, and you can choose what number format do you want. You can also choose the font, type, style, etc. You can also choose the fill. Fill is nothing but the highlight. So I say please highlight it in red and keep the font as, let's say, white, okay, and I click OK, right? Now you see that only these 3 cells are currently formatted, because before I click the conditional formatting button, I have activated only this 3 cell. My cursor, I have selected only this 3 cell, but that's not a problem. Don't worry, we will see how to copy it for the other cells. And I say OK. So the moment I press OK, you see that all the cells, all the 3 cells, okay, are less than 41 and hence all are highlighted. But let's say if I want to expand this formula to the rest of the cell, so there are 2 options. One is I select one of this cell, go to format brush, and I paste it for all the other cells, okay. So pasting cells will also paste the conditional formatting for me. So you see that all the cells which are less than 40 are now highlighted in red with a white font. Clear? So that's one way of copying your conditional formatting option. The other option is I press Ctrl Z, okay. The other option is I go to conditional form. I just let me select this one of this cell. I go to conditional formatting, and here there is something called manage rules. I go to manage rules, okay. Now you see this window. We'll understand more functions on this window, but right now let's focus on how to expand our conditional referencing cells, okay. So yeah, so here it says applies to, right? So right now it is only selecting D5 to D7. So you can change this referencing and you can say apply to all these cells. Clear? Then it will be applied to, now it will be applied to, you click on apply, you see all the cells which are less than 41 are highlighted, and you click on OK. Done. So this is how a basic conditional formatting works in an Excel, okay. Now let's explore the other options on conditional formatting tab. So highlight, we are again on the highlight cells rule. So again I can use greater than, or I can also choose 2 options, that is between, okay. So if let's say I want to select, now let's say I want to further highlight, or I want to further format all those cells which are between 40 and 60 in one format, okay. So let me say between 41 and let's say 70, okay. So these are the average scores, so I want to highlight them in certain other format. So I say, let's say format them in yellow highlight, okay, and leave the font as black, okay. So I'm leaving the font as automatic, that is black, okay, and I click on OK. Fine. Okay, so again I'll have to go and enhance this rule to the other cells, okay. So I can again apply D3 is to D7 and I freeze the cell, okay. Sorry, so I'll have to freeze this cell, sorry, D77, not 7, and I place a dollar sign to, okay, it's not accepting a dollar sign here. So let me just, I don't know why my keyboard is not working suddenly. Let me just rewrite. Okay, so let me use the simple method rather. Okay, so I say apply this to all this cell. Okay, so I use Control Shift and the down arrow, and it selects all the table in one go. So I have now this cell selected. I say apply and I say OK. Right. So you now see that all the scores which are between 40 and 70 has been highlighted in yellow. Okay. I can again write one formula. Okay, and say highlight cells greater than. Okay. Now I will write greater than 70. Okay, and I will say, let's say I leave this default option and I say OK. So you see all the, and let me copy paste the formula. So in manage rules, I go and select the entire table and I say apply and I say OK. Right, so you see that all the distinguished code that is greater than above, greater than or more, equal to or more than 70 has been highlighted in pink color. right? So what we understand by this is, first thing is that I can choose one of the highlight cells rule and choose greater than, less than, between, equal to, etc. The second thing what we notice here is that on the same cell I can choose more than one conditional formatting, right? So I can choose for the same cell, I can ask Excel to check whether it's greater than 70, less than 70, and respectively give it a conditional format, a condition and a format to follow once the condition has been met, that is the condition is true, right? So if let's say my data is playing with text, okay, so in that case I will say text that contains, okay, so let's say if I want to highlight all the text, okay, let's say text in a particular format, so I will say text that contains, okay, and I will write text, sorry, with, again I will choose custom format, okay, and I can give it any formatting. Let's say I want it to be highlighted in blue cell, okay, I want to highlight it for blue, right? So you see that all the text subject has been highlighted in blue, okay, so we can explore it further at your whim's fancy. Similarly, if your data contains a date, you can choose that value. Duplicate value, so if say let's say your data has a duplicate value, again let me check this, so all duplicate value with this, so you see that all the values which are duplicate, okay, has been highlighted in a particular manner. Fine, so this is how you can play around with the highlight cells rule. Similarly, you have something called top bottom rules, okay, so let me first, okay, now let's say I want you to explain another, so I want to remove all these conditional formatting rules which I have applied. So what I will do is I'll go to conditional formatting, click on clear rules, and it gives me two options, that you want to clear the rules from the entire sheet or only from the selected cells. So I say only from the selected cells, and you see that all the conditional formatting is now gone, okay. So this is how, once you have created a conditional formatting, you can clear the rules which you have created. Now okay, let me explain you another conditional formatting, and to avoid any time wastage, let me first pre-select the entire data. So I said top bottom rules. So what is a top bottom rule doing for me is that it will either highlight the top 10 items or top 10 percentage item, similarly bottom 10 and above average. So above average means that first it will calculate the average of the student of the score, and it will highlight all the cells which is above average. Let's check, and you give it a formatting. So here the condition is already there that all the cells which are above average has to be highlighted. So let's say I say green, and it says okay, and I say okay. So you see that in this case it first calculated the average of all the student score, and then post calculating the average, whichever score was above average, it highlighted the cell for us, right? So this is also possible with conditional formatting. Okay, before I again move on to explain this data bars, color scales, icon sets, etc., let me first focus on this manage rules. Okay, so I go to a cell which has been formatted and I click on manage rules. Okay, so you see we have already seen the how we can change the cell referencing by changing the applies the cells range in the applies to. Let's say if you want to edit any rule, okay, so let's say if you once you have highlighted it with this particular field, you want to edit it, so you click on edit rules, okay, and then you click on format, and you can change the format the way you want to. Okay, so you can see that now it has been changed. Okay, I didn't 1 second, so D3 to D5 edit, yeah, format, okay, yeah, and I click on apply and I click on okay, right? So you see that now the formatting has been changed to the lighter color shades which we have used. Okay, clear? Similarly, if you want, you can delete the rule. Okay, if by mistake you have deleted, please click cancel and the rules will not be deleted. You see that the rule is still there. Okay. Similarly, for the same cell, if you want to apply new rule, you can directly click on new rule and apply any rule here. Okay, so show formatting rules for, okay, this is okay, this is not a big deal. Okay, so this is what more or less we have in our manage rule. There is one more function which is right now you see unactivated, this shifting up the arrows and all. We will study it in a while, don't worry about that. So let's focus on another conditional formatting features which we have. This is one of the very important feature, the data bar, and let me take another example to explain the usefulness of this feature. So again, I have this P&L extract, okay, the income statement extract from a random number, wherein I have the some of the line items from the P&L, and I want Excel to create a data set for me. Okay, so data set means data bars means I'm not data set, sorry, the data bar. So these are the various options which you have. So you see that the moment you place on one of your cursor on one of this option, you see that Excel fills your cell with a data bar. Okay, so this is a very good way of presenting your data, especially when you're presenting your financial data. So it works like a chart for you. It works like the bar chart, right? So that's why it's called the data bar also. So rather than creating a chart separately, you can create the data bar within the Excel sheet itself. Okay, so you can choose any of this formatting feature. Now let's say I want the data to be here, and along with that I want the chart to be on the next cell. So in that case, what you do is you first copy the data. Okay, you go to conditional formatting. Okay, go to new rules or click on data bars and click on more rules. Okay, and here click on this this button called show bars only. So once you click on the show bars only, what it will do is it will not the cell data will not be visible, but only the bar will be visible. Besides, you can also select the color which you want for the bar. Okay, whether you want border or not, whether you want the minimum, or if you want to set the minimum or the maximum range yourself. Okay, so you can select that what is the maximum. Let's say in this case 500 is the maximum value. So if you can change this maximum value to 1000 or 800 or 600 also, else it will by default take the automatic, which is the maximum in your data set, right? So you can play around with all these options here. Okay, so since I have clicked on show bars only, okay, you see that the data is not there, but only the bar is visible. So you can also create a chart on the parallel column. This gives a wonderful presentation to your data. Clear? Similar to data bar, we have also something called color scale. So what will color scale do is it will change the scale of the color based on the data value. Okay, again here you can go to more rules and you can specify what colors you want for scaling, right? So you can use a gradually removing, or you can choose a 2 scale or 3 scale color sets also. So 3 scale color set will give you the outlook in the 3 scale. So depending upon the value, it will highlight the cells. Clear? Okay, let's understand this last part of the conditional formatting, which is your icon sets. So what does an icon set do? As you can see, there are lots of icon. Okay, so either you can choose the direction. Okay, again each of this is based on a value. Okay, you can go to more rules and click on you can change the values as you want. So on what value you want which icon is something you can choose on your own. Okay, so if you want more icon style, this is where all the icon styles are listed for you. Okay, so if you, let's say for example, if I choose this circling, right, so I can specify for what values I want what kind of icon, and I click on OK. And okay, sorry, I have selected it on a cell where the data was not there. So first of all, let me clear the conditional formatting from here. Okay, and let me now go to icon sets. Okay, and click this 5-quarter icon, and you see that based on the value, okay, you will get your icons specified. Clear? So this is how we work on the conditional formatting, and as I said at the beginning, this is a very useful tool for presenting your data in a very beautiful manner. Clear? Okay, so let's look at 1 or 2 example and see how do we use conditional formatting based on a given formula. Like we saw in data validation class, that rather than using one of the default function for data validation, I can choose my conditional formatting based on a given formula also. Okay, so let's see how do we do that. Again, I am taking the same example as we have seen in the data validation class, that I have a list of student ID, and I want any ID which is less than 5 digit or any ID which is repetitive to be highlighted. Okay, so let's see how do we do that. I go to conditional formatting. Okay, I click on new rules. Okay, now within new rules, you see that I have a rule type. Okay, so last one is use a formula to determine which cells to format. I click on this. Okay, the moment I click on this, Excel allows me to write a formula here, right? So now applying the same logic what we used when we were checking for data validation, that if I want to if I want Excel to determine the cells which are repetitive or cells which are less than 5-digit number, I can use a COUNTIF function, okay, or a COUNTIF function. So what the formula which I will write here is, I will start with OR, okay, let me give an equal to also. So I say OR, what is my first logic? COUNTIF, okay, this cell, okay, that is my criteria range for the COUNTIF function is, okay. So what will this COUNTIF function, what are the two arguments for COUNTIF function? The criteria range and the criteria. So I'm saying COUNTIF, and I've given it a criteria range A4 to A9, and I'm saying count how many number of times A4 is appearing, that is a given particular ID is appearing, and I'm saying this should be greater than, and this, if this is greater than equal to 1. Here I'm looking for a false information. I'll explain you the ultimately why we are using greater than 1. So that's my first condition. So I'm saying that check whether this ID is appearing more than once. So COUNTIF, whether the given ID in a given set of data is appearing more than once. What is my second condition? The second condition is that length of this cell, okay, which has the student ID, is it greater than, or let's say not equal to, okay, 5, because we want it to be exactly equal to 5. So I'm saying check whether it's greater, if it's not equal to 5, and I close my bracket. So what will the first logical condition do? It will check whether the student ID is appearing greater than once. What will my second formula do, or second logical condition do? It will check the length, whether if the length of the cell is not equal to 5. So if either of these two condition is met, since I'm using the word OR, okay, if either of this condition is met, Excel will give me a true answer. The moment it gives me a true answer, it will highlight that particular cell for me. Since I am using a conditional formatting and I want Excel to highlight the cell, okay, which if it's appearing twice, or if its length is not equal to 5. So it's an either or condition, and hence I am using a OR formula, right? And I want Excel to highlight the cell even if one of this condition has been met. And in condition, of course, I am specifying a condition which I actually don't want. That is, I want COUNTIF actually to be less than 1 and length to be equal to 5. But here I am specifying it in a reverse manner. And I click on OK. Let me give it a format. So format, let's use the red highlight. That is the most prominent one. And I say OK. Okay. Again, if I want to copy paste this formula, I can use a paintbrush. Okay. Now, since all of these IDs are less than is equal to 5 and none of them are repetitive, so Excel is not throwing any error for us. But let us check now. Okay, it's not giving me an error. We will see why. Let me try for the repetitive data now. 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, it's not working. Let me see if the conditional highlighting rule has been copied or not. Yes, it says applies to A5 to A9. Okay, A5 to A9. Oh, why only A5 to A9? What about A4? Let me check. Okay, this applies to A4, or let me increase this to A4 to A9. I guess the formula which got copied was not the right one, and I now click on apply and I click on OK. Okay, so now it should be working fine. Let me rewrite the formula again. Oh, it's still not working. Let's see why. Okay, so let me delete the first one. Okay, let me go and delete the first rule, and now click on apply and then click on OK. Wow, that's strange. So let me check my formula again. So it says equal to or COUNTIF A4 to A9, which is fine. Okay, and it's A4. Oh, here we go. So what we have done is we have referred it to A4. So A4 has to be unfreezed. Okay, and here also A4 has to be unfreezed so that it keeps changing the reference. Okay, and I click on apply and here we go. Right, so you see that now whichever cell was repetitive, okay, we see that it is highlighted. Similarly, let's try with 4-digit number. Again, it's highlighted. Let's try with 6-digit number, and again you see that the cell has been highlighted. Right, so this is how you use a conditional formatting with a formula function. So remember that most of the Excel function, okay, will allow you to put a check on it, or to validate the data or use a conditional formatting based on the formula also, right? So it's not necessary that we use one of this default function which is given here. We can write our own formula to create a rule for conditional formatting as well. Okay, this is the last part of conditional formatting, wherein I want to show you what will happen when the conditional formatting has a conflicting value. Okay, so let me explain what I'm saying. Let me write a conditional formatting here using top bottom rule, and I say top 10 percentage, right? So it says that format cells that rank in the top 10 percentage. Again, I can change the value here, okay, as per my whims and fancies with a given formatting. Let me leave it a default and I click on OK, right? So out of 10 value, top 10% was only one value, so the topmost value has been highlighted for us or formatted for us. Now let me go and write in another formula, okay, for this entire range of data. Okay, let me go and write another formula saying highlight cell which is greater than 80, okay, with let me choose another format this time, and I say red highlight and white font, okay, and I click on OK, right? So you see that the earlier formatting or the earlier formatting, that is top 10%, which I have created, is gone. So let's see what is happening here. I go to condition. Whenever you want to check what is happening with any formula, directly go to manage rules and you will get an idea. So you see now for a given cell, okay, I have two formatting available, okay, and which is the first formatting which is coming here? That is the first one, which is cell value greater than 80, and that's why you see that the earlier formatting, which was the default formatting, has now been changed to red highlight and white font. So if I change the sequence of this formatting, okay, by using this 2 button, moving up and down a particular formatting, okay, and you see that now I have placed this top 10 percentage condition as the prime point condition, and I click on apply. So you see that now the first condition, that is the top 10 percentage condition, is now applied first, and then comes the second conditional formatting, which is cell value which is greater than 80. Okay, so this is what I was trying to explain, that you can shift the, or you can change the sequence of the conditional formatting if your cell has more than one conditional formatting available for a given cell. Clear? And you can also click on stop if true. Okay, so if it's true, it will not do any fun. Let's say if it's a huge file, and if you don't click on stop if true, so every time Excel will go and check. But if you click on stop if true, so if this condition is met, Excel will not check this cell for the second conditional formatting. Clear? So this will also be helpful at time. And again here, show formatting rules. You can choose whether it's for current selection for this entire worksheet, okay, or you can choose any of the sheet which is there. Okay, so you can if not for the current selection, but you can also choose which sheet you want this particular formatting to be applied to. Clear? So more or less this is what we have in conditional formatting. You can definitely go and explore on the different styles of the data bar or color scales and play around with this icon bar sets further. Okay, I hope you enjoyed the class. So two important things in Excel, that is the circular referencing and conditional formatting, will now be easy and handy for you. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye bye.